So our last student is Desiree. So you want to come up? Great, thank you, Hannah. So Desiree is studying liberal arts and science here at the college, and she's also part of the ASAP program here. And that's how she learned about the internship. I'm so impressed with her because aside from being a full-time student, she also works full-time, and I know how difficult that can be. So I always appreciated that you made it to our class sessions on Fridays. I know that was hard. I know that you were very interested in meeting actual survivors and hearing their stories directly, and that you wanted to take what you learned from the internship to educate others in the future. And I was looking at your resume before this started, and this didn't come up at all, but I thought it was so interesting that you attended the Institute of Culinary Education in New York, and you have a specialization in baking and pastry, and I'm kind of disappointed that you didn't bring anything in ever. Okay, so she interviewed Jane Keibel.
Yes. I don't want to drag it on, but thank you for having me, Dr. Fu, Marissa, everyone. I interviewed Jane, and as soon as I met her, she actually volunteers here on Mondays. And as soon as I met her, she reminded me instantly of a combination of my grandma and my great-grandmother, because she was just this little woman, and as soon as you see her, she just lights up a room. She was just so happy to tell her story. And I came into the interview literally with questions, and I didn't ask any of them, because she just, as soon as she started talking, I was just so interested, I didn't want to cut her off at all. So I just sat there with my pencil, and I was just writing her story. And we probably met for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, with a little bit of breaks in between. And as soon as she started telling me about her story, she made it very clear that she was not in a concentration camp, and she doesn't feel as though she was a survivor, because she didn't go through what a lot of people went through. Jane lives in Germany, and her father owned a store which was taken by Hitler and his people, and literally they went into her father's store one day and took everything and said, "This is our store now." So when that happened, they had nothing. Her father wanted to get out as soon as possible because he didn't know what was going to happen to them. So they had to apply for some sort of a visa or a passport for us to either go to China or Cuba. And while she wanted to go to China, her father wanted to go to Cuba. So it was a boat that would take them there. And in order to get those visas was so expensive. And it was her sister, her mother, her father. And one of Hitler's rules were they can't take a lot of money with them. So her father invested all of this money into these visas to get like VIP, to get the best that they can, and literally left with what she said would equal like around $7 now, because that's all that they could take, whatever they could fit in their suitcase, nothing of value, and a couple of dollars. So they went on the St. Louis, and on their way to Cuba. She said they were on sea for a couple of weeks, and she said that she never felt hate. She was educated. Just because she was Jewish, she never felt like she was treated any differently. And on the boat, there was a distinct separation between those who spent more money to get a different type of visa and those who didn't have the money. So she never met any of those people that did not have the money to have what she had, basically. And she brought out like 4 books when I met her, and she was showing me pictures of her and her family in the books, and their signatures when they went onto the boat. And she said that she felt that somewhat hatred when Cuba wouldn't let her in, well, everyone in, because the visa that her father had purchased wasn't valid. So basically they bought something that Germany was telling them, okay, you can get out, and it wasn't valid to go anywhere. So they were stuck at sea for a really long time. And if you guys are ever interested, the St. Louis has a lot of books about it. And they were basically stranded there for 40 days, I think she said. Nobody would let the Jewish people in. It was like they were diseased, or they just weren't humans. So in my eyes, I feel as though even though she didn't go through what those that went to concentration camps went through, she was still labeled as somebody that was taboo. And she said, I'm Jewish, I'm still a human. It doesn't matter what color my skin is or what I believe in, I was still a human. And they weren't treated that way. And I asked her what she would want me to share with everyone. And she has sons and a grandson. And I said what she would want them to remember. And she blatantly said everything. I don't want any part of my story to go untold. And I think that's really important, because everyone can take one piece of information and run with it and, really put it into their everyday life. But she's the type of person that she wants everything to be told about her. And that's why I think she brought out these books and she showed me all of these pictures and she sat with me. And she was going through so much detail about her life so that I can find something and relate to it and spread her story and, share her story. And unfortunately, my grandmother passed away in August, before, a couple of weeks, I think, before this internship started. So as soon as I saw her, it was just like a connection with her, because I have my great-grandmother, but I don't have my grandmother. And she just looked like a combination of both of them. So it was kind of emotional for me. And she got really emotional when I brought that up, because although she wasn't in a concentration camp, she had to leave her grandmother back in Germany. And they put her in a home thinking they were doing the right thing, and later found out that Hitler took all of the elderly and put them in concentration camps. And she found out that her grandmother they said that she died from being old, but she knew that wasn't, she felt in her heart that wasn't why she had passed away. So she started crying when we were doing the interview, and she has a little bit of guilt because of that, because she feels like they should have taken her grandmother with them, but Hitler didn't allow elderly people to go. So I've learned a lot, and I would love to just come here on a Monday and meet with her again and just talk, because she's the type of person that she wants everybody to know her story, and she'll gladly show you all of the books, especially if you're interested. And she lives in Kew Gardens now. She volunteers here. She goes to some centers around her way as well. And that shows me that she's really active in the community, which is something that I would want to be, because I am studying to be a special education teacher. So I think educating others on whether you were in a concentration camp, any hardship that you go through, even though it might not be the exact same struggle, they still struggled. They were still feeling hatred. And I think everyone in this room can relate to that in some way, shape, or form, whether you're Spanish, whether you believe in something totally different or don't believe in anything at all. Everybody has an opinion, and it's up to you to either make it affect you and bring you down, or take their opinion, okay, I understand it, and just go about your day. So Jane really showed me that although she was not in a concentration camp, she was still affected, but she still goes about her days and lives life like nothing ever happened, even though she still wants everybody to know about her story. She made that really clear. But yeah, I think she's an amazing person. I just want to thank everyone for giving me the opportunity to interview her. So
Thank you.
If I could add just one thing, how important it is and how timely it is, the interviews you are doing. Yesterday at 10:30, Marissa and I were at the funeral of Jane's sister. Jane and her sister came over together, her younger sister, and her younger sister was quite sick, and she passed away Monday. We're at the funeral yesterday. So it's so important, the work that you're doing of meeting these people. So thank you. I thank you for that.